Oh, wait. I didn't even want to start it off with an intro. I just wanted to speak with these, man. Let's go. Let's go, man. How you guys doing? I'm Parth here with the Philly Blitz. We are live, Pod 79. We got the count wrong again. Look,
No,
don't blame
no,
me.
no, no. I got it wrong. I'll take
All right.
responsibility for that. Take accountability.
Accountability. Look at
That's my
that.
fault.
The accountability pod is
Accountability.
back.
You know it. You know, we got the chat. We got the pod. Accountability. Devin White, you're kicked out. Sorry, buddy. But we got a very special guest today. I'm here with Pierre and Quell, but we also got Anthony DiBona. Everyone always sees us interacting on Twitter, and today Cliff was just like, Anthony should come on the pod, and then we were just like, yeah, you know what, that's a really good idea, and so here we are. How you doing, man? Thanks for so much for joining us.
I'm doing good, man. It's I've been talking to you guys for forever. I've been on Mark Quell's show before the draft for a little bit here and there for a couple years in a row, I think. So it's only a matter of time before I jumped on year two. And whenever Cliff says something, you know it has to be done. So
How you guys
Definitely,
doing,
man.
Sorry, man.
Well, beloved dub to those who celebrate. It's out of one and only Marquel Frippons. And, you know, as always, Parth, the weekly weather check. It is once again sunny in Philadelphia. It stopped raining after the early showers in the week, but we'll touch more on that in a few.
Doing good, man. Doing good. What's that? 10 wins in a row? Most in franchise history? Brother, we are doing ecstatic, man.
Amazing. I love it. I mean, I was talking trash with my Commanders fan friend, and he was like, we got 9 wins. And I was like, brother, we got more wins in a row than you have this season. It's not the same conversation, buddy. And I know we got them this weekend, but the trash talk has begun. And I mean, that weekend went about as well as you could ask for as an Eagles fan. I mean, especially after the whole week before, you know, covered on the pod, all the drama, all the nonsense. And they came out and they kicked ass, man. And it was so great to see. And this is a sentiment that I heard on a lot of pods this week. And it was just that the reason that we were so hard on them, the reason that we were, you know, so irritated with, you know, the performance that was going on is because we've seen them do it before. We've seen what these guys are capable of. And to just see it again on full display was just so refreshing. And you know, maybe they didn't run the ball as well as they wanted to. They still ran the ball better on them than most teams have, you know, and they dared them to pass and they passed the ball and they looked really good passing the ball. You could just tell from the beginning with the way that they got Jalen into a rhythm that, oh, this game's going to be different. And it felt good. You know, they had a couple, you know, miscues with the fumbles here and there, but you know, the fact that they just were able to keep building positively besides those just speaks to how this team came prepared for this week. Also speaks to how this team plays down to their opponent and plays up to their opponent like none other and make life stressful on everyone. But what did you guys think? What did you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think this was the ideal formula for this team, right? That's being multiple in all 3 phases, like being effective on the ground, through the air on offense, you know, shutting the opposing team down through the air and on the ground, and even getting contributions from special teams. Jake Elliott, he had a bounce back game.
Yes,
but
sir.
just, you know, normally, like, we talk about the easy button that's Saquon, but I think like yesterday we saw the easy buttons in the passing game, right? I don't think they did anything too different from like a schematic standpoint. It's just they went out there and they executed. Like everything was much more synchronized, like you talked about, Parth. They did a very, very good job of getting Jalen into rhythm early on. I think the first 2 or 3 snaps were empty. That kind of forces the defense to declare its man zone, right? And I just think, you know, they operated with an actual like purpose and plan of action.
Certainly, man. I mean, we've talked about for weeks how what we've classified as they have to play Black Air Force One football, specifically against the AFC North opponents. And I mean, it's easy to start with the fact that they've swept the AFC North. But the more that I watch this Eagles team play, they play what I would like to refer to as travel football, the type of football you could put in a suitcase, you could bring with you, you could get on an airplane, you could get on a train or wherever you need to go. Because the brand of football they play is the type of football that travels in January. You're very good on defense. You're really stout against you're really great in terms of running the ball. But most importantly, they're very efficient, man. We think back to these first quarter woes that the team faced. And I mean, like you said, Pierre, they did a great job of getting the easy button out for the team, making things it was simple on Jalen. But just in the first quarter in general, Jalen was 8 for 8, 104 yards and a touchdown. The first quarter yardage was the Eagles had 148 to the Steelers 2. They had -3 passing yards on the first quarter. So just hats off to Vic Fangio and how he was able to get the guys in position and ready to play, man.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you look back, it's like the story of the game is how well Jalen Hurts played and how efficient the offense is, right? And like that's getting all the headlines. But I talked about it before the game, how like I wasn't too concerned about their struggles, especially in the passing game, because I feel like this team could always fall back to the running game with Saquon Barkley, which really didn't get going. It was more of like the Kenny G show, surprisingly, this week because Barkley was a little bit banged up. But then I just keep going back to that defense and how rock solid they've been all season. And like even early when they had those 2 turnovers, it still felt like it wasn't that big of a hole because the defense was just so damn reliable. And the Steelers started in field goal territory after the Cooper DeJean like turnover, and then they kept them to that field goal. They didn't allow a touchdown. So the fact they were able to kind of just keep the Steelers offense in check. I know they didn't have George Pickens, which is a big blow for them, but they've just done it over and over again. It's just now they're on this 10-game winning streak, and they've held every single opponent the defense has to 20 points or less. And I mean, you take the Jacksonville game, they had a defensive touchdown in that game, so that kind of makes it look a little bit more inflated than it was. But this defense, man, I mean, even if the offense still struggles, it's just the defense and what Vic Fangio is doing is just unbelievable.
Absolutely. And, you know, Quell, you said it, or Pierre said it. I don't remember who said it, but I mean, we're talk about it every week. But the Black Air Force football, that was on full display with how they reacted too. I mean, with what's his name again? Darnell Washington, right? Mm-hmm. Pushing Slay into the wall, trying to do his little Michael Orr from the blind side nonsense, you know, playing through the whistle. All right, bro, you're a film hero. But, you know, the way the team just ran up and protected him, it's just such a stark difference from last year. It was last year with, you know, Kayvon getting punched in the face and no one helping him and all this type of stuff. And, it shows that this team just has the culture. They really feed off each other. And especially after the whole, you know, nonsense and drama of the last week, it was great to see that the way that they just ride for each other. And, you know, they really do care about each other. Someone was in the locker room and they said it felt a lot like the 2017 locker room. And that's what this feels like. They had a lot of those, like, you know, organized celebrations, those type of things. And maybe that's not this team's thing. Maybe they just, you know, do one of these. And I love it. Somebody did a cut up of all the players doing it one after another. And it was just so cool, man. Like just every play and everyone's just locked in. Everyone's on the same page. You know, it just kind of speaks to the culture. And, you know, you got to give a shout out to Nick there for what he's built and what he's maintained. Also wanted to mention in that incident in the end zone, the way Quignon pulled up, that was amazing.
Brother,
not just Quignon.
And that's how I was about to say. Jalen Carter showed up.
As soon as Jalen Carter showed up,
boy, he was
watch the party die.
That was so funny. And then Jalen Carter was locked in, bro. He was like he was angry, bro. Someone was talking this game because Jordan Davis was helping up another dog. I don't know who it was on the field. He slapped his hand away and pushed him back. I was like, let's go, bro.
This ain't UGA, brother. It's a different game now.
Exactly. Like, we are here to win. And that's what you got to do with the Steelers, man. That's how they claw their way into every game. They play like that. So to match their energy in that way, and, you know, the way that they managed it on the sideline with, you know, Clint Hurt and Nick Sirianni getting into it, everyone's talking about that, but no one talks about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Carter hugging at the end of the game, you know? So they manage emotions well, and they know how to play to their standard.
I just want to touch on the thing with Nick Sirianni. It's just like all week long, and I feel like all off season long, we heard how, if he's not calling offensive plays and if he's not doing this, then what is he doing? And I feel like I tweeted about it too this last week, where you saw that things start to get sketchy, which after Brandon Graham said what he said and the controversy with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. But he went on the radio Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whatever it was, and kind of put water on the fire right away. And then you saw his just consistent messaging throughout the week when his press conferences, and it just trickled down to the players. He had the messaging on the hoodie where it was just saying, like, stay together and stay focused, and that you saw it on the game. Like they took care of business. They looked out for each other. And Quignon Mitchell even said it in his postgame when he was asked about that whole scuffle. And he was like, listen, Coach Sirianni always says, like, we got to look out for each other. We got to stay as a team. And sure enough, you saw that because last season when they got punked by the 49ers at home and they just walked through their warm-up line like it was nothing and nobody did anything.
Right.
That's not happening this season. So like you saw even the young guys, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Hunt was in the mix, Jalen Carter was there. So like they're not playing around this year. And I mean, maybe it starts with the younger guys, but even Darius Slay, who's usually a jokey guy, and he's talking about play like whatever, joining people's podcasts and whatnot. But even he went back at him. So the fact that it's kind of taking over this whole team is just they've really flipped the switch. I don't know if it's the Vic Fangio effect but you got to give Nick Sirianni credit too.
Absolutely,
brother. Do you know how insane you have to be to make Darius Slay angry?
Brother, I haven't seen Darius Slay this upset since DK Metcalf. And what was that, 2020? Like,
dude, they had the attitude, man. Jalen Hunt, like, I don't know if you guys saw the video of him running into the locker room. He was like, Steelers are more physical. Steelers are more physical. Like they and it speaks to what you just said, Anthony. Like Vic, Nick, just the whole staff, they've instilled in this team that you're tougher than anyone. And that is maybe the best thing you can instill in a team that has so much skill, because it can be easy to just get away with, we're better than anyone and we can, put up, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, whatever, and, make it look like it did today. But then there's something to be said about, hey, we're going to strap up our shoelaces and have a 12-minute drive that ends the game and completely ices it on you. So, they're just tough. This game was so fun to watch, man, and such a contrast from what it felt like at the beginning of the season. I was able to watch the game and almost check out a little bit. Like you're just watching, you're relaxed. That last drive, I wasn't nervous. I was like, they're in control. We're good.
Time after time, third down after third down. And I mean, you could point to the last drive, which I mean, when you have a 10-minute and 29-second drive, 21 plays, brother. When's the last time you've seen a 21-play drive?
It put me into the mind of what was it? It was 2017, I think, against the Chargers in LA with LeGarrette Blount. I don't remember what the time was, but that kind of where you salt away a drive or salt away a game like that kind of reminded me of that.
Just in general, when you think about the entire second half, and just it kind of points back to what you guys were stating a second ago about what I would like to classify as the resiliency they installed in this team. And I guess you don't even have to wait until the second half. I mean, all the things you guys spoke about, from the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts scenario to the Slay scenario during the game, and then even the Jalen Carter. But you can look at what happened during the game. And I spoke about it during the week. This was my big speaking point of this Steelers defense takes the ball away. If you're going to win this game, you had to protect the ball. And those 2 early turnovers, 2 unconventional turnovers for the Eagles, put them in a position where the defense had to stand up for everyone else. They had to stand up for the special team. They had to stand up for the offense. And you just look at how in the second half you get to a point where that first drive where the Steelers got the ball, that was almost like a momentum shifting drive where they come out with the flea flicker, the big play. It was something that jump started an offense that was stagnated for a moment. And then you look at how the Eagles went on to have 2 13-play drives. And then, of course, the aforementioned 21-play drive. I believe the time of possession in the second half, the Steelers had the ball for 5 minutes and 50 seconds. They ran just 11 offensive plays, the fewest of any team in the last 10 years. So they completely took control of the football game in a way where it's like, look, you guys punched us in the mouth early, and they all, what the saying, what do you do when you get punched in the mouth? It's easy to have a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And then they responded. And that's the best thing about this football team. They continue to respond week after week, after incident after incident. I'm sure we've all seen on all the talk shows, they still found a way to talk about the Clint Hunt and Nick Sirianni thing, even though nobody mentions the hug. And it's like, I mean, of course, it's I've seen some people say it's like this team thrives off of these kind of situations. Like it's like how we talked about, we talked back in the day about the Baker Mayfield thing where he just looks for something to make him angry, and he's like, that's it right there. That's gonna be the reason I beat up on you today.
Like him doing the Tommy DeVito celebration. Like, You have nothing to do with Tommy DeVito, but he needed to get that off when he scored that touchdown.
That was so funny, dude. There's nothing nothing Tommy DeVito has ever done to him, but he's like, I got you. I'm better. And you need that sometimes. You need that chip on your shoulder. And especially and I keep going back to it, a team this talented, a team with this much talent, you need something like that. You need like a common goal. You need to be like, oh, people don't think we're good enough. Then you go out there and you prove it every week. And I like what you said, Quell, resiliency, and just that they continue to just respond, right? Jalen Hurts was questioned about, pocket presence and taking and just keeping his eyes down and not taking things and not having velocity on the ball, whatever it might be. Then you have plays like, he steps up in the pocket. It looks like he's going to escape, and then he just fires it into Devontae, and he just still got it in his bag, and it's just like, oh, they said I couldn't do it. He sits down in his press conference. He's so smug, and he's like, "That's what y'all wanted, huh?" Like, he's just like, he knows it too, and to just be able to back it up like that, dude, that's awesome, dude. That doesn't happen, man. Just to be able to like back up, all this talk, and you just say it's all gonna be fine, it's all gonna be fine, then you just come out and it's actually fine, and all of a sudden the offense looks like advanced, and there's beautiful route trees and route maps and all those things that we were looking at. It's just it's such a change up, man. I don't understand it, but hey, maybe we need to keep spiting them. Somebody tweeted it. We need to act like Jalen and AJ are having another fight right before the playoffs.
Jalen was on fire this week with the quotes. Sorry to cut you off, but like first he had the one where he was like you said, where he sat down at the press conference and was like, "Oh, this is what you wanted." But even before that, he said to, I think it was Carissa Thompson, where he was like, "Just because we don't, it doesn't mean that we can't." And I was like, "Sheesh, that is a bar right there." And then earlier in the week, when he said, "What was it?" I had tweeted that out, and it went crazy too. Where he was like, "Oh man, I forgot."
When he said he's at his best when people doubt him.
No, it was the you can say what you want about Jalen Hurts, but it's gonna look Jalen Hurts' way, and he's gonna win or something like that. I was just like, after last week, I don't know what happened, but he just went on a tear. It's not those usual like Hallmark cards that he sometimes throws out there. These are some special ones because the media is bothering him, and he let it be known. And I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, he's gonna be a winner. And now Nick Sirianni has the best winning percentage of any active head coach, and 4th or 5th all time. So I mean, people can say whatever they want about Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, but those guys just win, man.
The aura was oozing off the screen,
off the charts aura. Those charts that Denny's posted throughout the week. Jalen Hurts would have been up there with the moon in terms of the aura this week.
Well, we talk a lot about how like teams, they take the shape or form of their leader, right? And I think you heard Jalen after the game, like when he talked about how he finds the thrill in being doubted, right? And like this Eagles team, like you all stated, like all week everybody's doubting them. Drama. Are AJ and Jalen, are they still friends? Are the Eagles frauds? And they show up against quite possibly the best defense they're gonna face all year, and they railroaded them essentially. Like that's insane.
The thing that stands out to me about the offensive performance, I mean, of course, you look at Jalen Hurts and that'll be the conversation to be had. Then you look at the wide receivers. We've been talking about specifically last week, and how I joked about how it was cool to finally see somebody else in the offense not named Brown, Smith, and Barkley get targets their way, because every game prior to that, it's just the balls just don't go to anyone else. We were back to our regularly scheduled programming, plus a little bit more this week. I believe there were 23 targets between AJ Brown and Devonta Smith alone, 19 receptions, 219 yards, and of course 2 touchdowns. Now, what stands out the most to me about that stat is the Eagles kind of found out, I wouldn't call it a cheat code. I mean, it was pretty simple if you ask me, but how they decided to attack this Pittsburgh defense is when they went, man, you're going to show them one-on-ones. It's the A.J. Brown show. I believe A.J. Brown had 89 of his 110 yards against man coverage. And then when they decided to go zone, it was okay. Well, let's go move Devonta Smith around somewhere and see the mismatches we could find. This was probably the closest that we have gotten to the quote-unquote Keenan Allen chart that we've been searching for.
Yes.
And he was able to get 76 yards against zone coverage specifically. So just how they was able to say, okay, you pick your poison of how you want to defend us. And even on the play where they motioned out, I believe it was Gainwell, and the Steelers just went empty, and the Red Sea just parted for Jalen. It was kind of like Kellen Moore had his way in terms of what he wanted to do offensively this week.
Absolutely. It felt like, felt like they got their swagger back. No, it's really just what it felt like, because it felt like they knew the right buttons to press, like you just said, and I don't know why it was such a hard formula to figure out if we all just were sitting here and we do that. Like, hey, like if there's man, just kind of go after your crazy, superhuman man beater. And then if it's zone, go after the guy who just like is super shifty and knows exactly where to kind of sit when it's zone coverage. I don't know. Maybe I play too much Madden, but I don't know, dude. It's good to see. At least now they're putting it all together. And Pierre, you said it at the beginning. The offense was duplicative, and it just it built off itself. And that's what we've been talking about for a long time. And to just see that in fruition was special, man, because it's what we expected to see all year. And now imagine if Saquon has like a little bit better of a day rushing the ball, if he doesn't get banged up, and all of a sudden it's a different game. But thank you, Anthony, for giving a shout out to the boy Kenny G, man. Me and Quell love him, but Pierre's just a hater, man.
I mean, I feel like I've been having.
I never called the dude a bad player. I just said that I didn't think he was a 3-down back like they were trying to make him.
You said he was not good.
Bro, if we could like go back and make a collage of all of the old pods, he'd be like trash. Kenny G, trash. Not good.
You could just have an hour-long episode of him just trashing Kenny G.
I'm telling you.
But it's crazy because it just seems like this season specifically, even like back in week 12 against Washington, where he had like the offense kind of got stagnant, and then he had like back to back like 10-yard runs or 12-yard run, 50. Like he's not getting the ball a ton this season, but when he really is like making timely plays and coming up big, because it seems like Saquon Barkley, he's a phenomenal running back, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but almost after every big game he has, he's tapping his helmet to come out. And like, sure enough, Kenny G comes in and he usually adds on to it. It's not like there's a significant drop off, but I mean, he's in a contract year, so maybe he'll get rewarded handsomely in the offseason. But just this game in general, it was crazy because all season long, it felt like Jalen Carter and Saquon Barkley were clearly your best two players on each side of the ball. And then they weren't that noticeable. I mean, they were playing well, but not to the level that they have been. And the Eagles still won convincingly. And then meanwhile, you have Nolan Smith looking like the new Jalen Carter, because he was just all over that game, especially in the first half. It's just what he did in that game was just unbelievable. And I feel like if he keeps ascending at this rate, they're going to be in a good position moving forward on the edge.
That hurdle was crazy. He cleared Jalen Warren. Sorry, Pierre, but like, what? Like, he just made it look. It was like 2 steps, and he just jumped clear over him. That was nuts. Didn't keep contained technically, but like, holy hell, dude! How do you?
Probably gonna get ripped. He's probably gonna get ripped for that, but
yeah,
it looked really damn cool watching it.
And I was like, he's gonna get ripped, but that was sick. That picture's gonna be awesome. Sorry, Pierre,
I think it was quite possibly like the best game of his career. 4 tackles, 100%. A sack, 2 tackles for a loss, a pass deflection, 2 quarterback hits. Like you said, Anthony, he was all over the field. Like he put everything together, like pass rush, run defense, like even pass defense, like pass deflection. Like it was amazing to see. Like he's becoming like a household name under Vic Fangio. And I don't remember which one of us it was that said it, but like I think he's probably been, outside of Jalen Carter, he's probably been the biggest beneficiary of Fangio being added to this coaching staff.
But besides Zach Bond too. But
yeah,
with Nolan Smith, it's just like the play that I think stood out to me the most was, if I noticed it as soon as it happened, but I didn't know who did it, where they did a running play to the outside. Darnell Washington just went flying. Like, and that's a big dude to go send it flying. And then sure enough, I was just rewatching the All 22 before I jumped on here. I'm probably going to share it on Twitter, but sure enough, it was Nolan Smith just pushing the hell out of him, and he went flying, and they ended up blowing up the running play. So it's just like, not only is like he was always been solid against the run, and I feel like even dating back to the end of last season, he was just playing with more effort than anybody else along the edge for the Eagles. And then now he's carried that over to this year, and now he's adding more moves to his pass rushing repertoire. It's just like guy's ceiling is unbelievable.
And that was the big thing. Him being able to add more to the pass rush repertoire. We talked about the bend and all of the athletic ability that came with him. It was just about him continuing to develop a pass rush plan. And I guess what stands out to me to just continue to harp on what you guys said, but the Eagles had 9 quarterback pressures on Sunday. 4 of those alone came from Nolan Smith. He played 95% of the snaps.
Yeah.
And I mean, I specifically mentioned a couple weeks ago on the 5 big picture takeaway piece that I dropped that I think that it was a mistake for them not adding the edge after the trade or during the trade deadline. And wow, have they proved me wrong. Vic has been headstrong about the ability to maintain this 3-man rotation that they've been utilizing. He even pointed back to his time in San Francisco, said, hey, I did it there. Why can't it work now? So it's the reason why he's been around for so long, and I'm right here on a podcast. But I mean, just in general, it's been fun to see the development of Nolan Smith, the continued development of Nolan Smith, man. I've been excited to see exactly what he could potentially be, specifically in this Vic Fangio scheme, how he could be utilized in both in coverage and as a pass rusher. So just him in a perfect world, man, next year you can see maybe not long-term isn't the right word, but maybe not on an every down basis. But picture what Fangio would want to do having Hunt and Smith out there on his edges and what he could do schematically, man. It's just fun to think about.
So, quick question for y'all. So, Bryce Huff, I know that he's slated to be back on. It was towards the end of the year. Well, there are 3 games left in the season, right? Playoffs are approaching. How y'all think he's going to factor into the edge room?
Well, he's technically eligible to return this week, I believe, but I don't know, like injury timeline, how long he'll be out, because that was kind of all over the place. But I think they'll just cut or waive Charles Harris and then he'll be activated. But I don't know. I think he'll still have that 10 to 15 snap kind of pass rush wide 9 like role, because just the way these guys are playing, even Jalix Hunt, I feel like would have to be ahead of Bryce Huff at this point, because he's just a freak athlete that you can drop in coverage. You can like line up in all different ways. They used him in the middle of the defensive line last week, and I was like, that's something they haven't done with a lot of the other edge players this season. So I just feel like those top 3 that they have right now with Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt, I feel like Bryce Huff kind of has to earn his way back up. I don't know if he's going to play just 1 snap like Charles Harris did yesterday. I think he'll play more than that, but I just don't know if he's going to step in right away to being the first or second guy on the edge.
Absolutely. I don't think you can't give it to him in good faith. He hasn't performed like he deserves it. And I mean, they've played much better in his absence. Like I said, I just about forgot about him. I mean, it's not like we talked about it at the beginning of the season as like a really big issue of, edge play, and their improvement at the edges has just been spectacular. So yeah, I think he comes in a reserve role, but I think that's about it. Maybe certain pass rush downs, but then, if these guys keep developing too, it makes the conversation harder. So we'll see. And again, who knows what's going on with his injury as well. But it was nice that we finally did not have to see Avonte Maddox on the field. Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah.
Demoted. Gone. Benched.
He didn't get any snaps. I was like, sheesh. I mean, I've been clamoring for it since 2 years ago, probably. But yeah, his role seems like it's gone.
He was a good gunner. He got that nice catch the other day. Hey, listen, appreciate you, Avonte. Something wrong with the house that him and Dallas Goedert bought, man. That was a cursed home. But,
yeah, cursed home. I think it was probably the Nerf guns. It was in the Nerf guns.
It was the Nerf guns. They shot each other with the Nerf guns too much, and that's why they get injured so much. Don't play with Nerf guns, kids. They're dangerous.
You brought up Dallas Goedert. Grant Calcaterra, he had himself a game yesterday too.
First catch of the game, right?
Yeah.
Who said Jalen doesn't throw to other people?
They killed all the narratives on that first drive. They were like, Grant Calcaterra, you get a target. AJ, you get a couple. They were just trying to.
And we'll score. And we'll score in the first quarter. 10 points in the first quarter. It's crazy. Did you guys know that you can actually score in the first quarter?
It's wild, right? 17 in the first quarter before that game, I think, all season, which is insane.
Crazy, man. Crazy. So
I did not
About
know
a
who that
12 and
team
2
was.
football team.
Sorry, did you want to say something about it, Quell?
Nah, I said I just don't know who that team was right there. They were strangers.
Well, they're welcome back anytime. That was a good time. But I mentioned at the beginning of the pod that this weekend went as well as it could have for Eagles fans. And that's also because Lions lost, and that's big. They need one more loss. We need to keep winning out, and all of a sudden we're looking at home field advantage.
Need a
Baby
Vikings
hands
loss
off.
in there.
And a Vikings
Minnesota
loss. Sorry. Yeah. You need that you do. That sucks. Okay, well, a couple of things, but they can happen. That's the thing with the slated games that the NFC North teams have left. They're beating up on each other, and then they have teams against good. They have games against good teams as well. So the Eagles have to win out. What do you guys think about the first seed versus the second seed? Because obviously you get home field advantage with the first seed, get the first round bye and all those types of things. But there's been some talk that the path with the second seed could be easier and that you could maybe avoid the Packers or some of the better teams that are heating up in the NFC. What do you guys think?
I just don't buy that. First of
Yeah.
all, it's NFL. It ain't nothing easier. You want everything to go through Philadelphia, first and foremost. Second of all, with the way things currently look, their 7-2 matchup would be Eagles Commanders, which, I mean, yeah, we did it a couple years ago against the Giants en route to the Super Bowl, but it's hard to beat a team 3 times, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say it's not a matchup they want, because I mean, it's a 7 and a 2 for a reason, but divisional games can get tricky. Now, again, as I explained a minute ago, if you ask what my preference is, of course the preference is to have the home field advantage. But like I explained, the Eagles have what I classified as they play travel football. So whether it's on the road, at home, I do think they have the ability to beat insert team here, specifically with as it currently stated, they will have every game at home with the exception of maybe Detroit or Minnesota should have everything play out. So
I mean, I'm right there with you. I think you have to go first round bye and then being 2 at home. But also, this team has played so well on the road this season too. So it's like you said, and I'll still go back to it. Just the way and how well this defense has played makes me feel comfortable about this team going up against anybody. And I mean, now with the Lions losing, I mean, they lost the game to the Bills, which obviously is important. But the 2 players that they lost might be even more important because I know Aiden Hutchinson went down, but Aleem McNeil was just as important to that defense as far as stopping the run, and he can rush the passer a little bit. And then David Montgomery Jahmyr Gibbs gets a lot of credit for the running back duo, but David Montgomery is just as important to that team with finishing runs and how strong he is. So the fact that they now have to try to win out without those 2, which they very well might be able to do, but that makes that matchup significantly easier for the Eagles if that ends up being the NFC Championship game. So I think regardless, you want a gun for that number 1 spot, but I think the Eagles are built well enough and play well enough to be able to win from that number 2 spot as well.
Eagles
Yeah,
legend
McNeil,
I might add.
Was it Tom Donahoe in the draft room?
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think if you can get the number 1 seed, you do everything you can that's in your power to get the number 1 seed, right? Like we've seen over the years, playoff games in Philadelphia are a different animal, right? You have Jared Goff rolling into Philadelphia in January versus in Detroit at Ford Field in the Dome. I'd take my chances with Jared Goff in Philadelphia.
Brother, hasn't he played like 13 games indoors all season or something of that next year? Like, get that man outside.
In the cold.
But no, even like you touched on, Anthony, with Detroit, like all the injuries that they've suffered, and I think you forgot a guy, Carlton Davis. They lost him also yesterday. So
well,
like,
it's definitely season ending, or I know it said indefinitely, but I wasn't sure if it was definitely season ending.
I think it's just indefinitely. That's the last
he might come out like Kanye with the wired jaw. I don't know, maybe.
Screaming on plays like this. He's like, guys. No good. You got shot, bro. All right, that's a good question. Out of the current playoff teams, who would give us the hardest matchups?
Want me to start? I'll probably go. This might sound crazy because the Eagles already beat them, but I think the Packers are playing really, really well right now, and I think they're probably the healthiest. I mean, the Vikings are pretty healthy too, but I just think the Packers. I think their play calling and their defense has only gotten better as the season's progressed with a first-year defensive coordinator, and they played the Eagles really close the first time. So that would probably be the team that would scare me the most, given the fact that Detroit is now dealing with all these injuries. So that's probably who I would go with.
Shout out my little brother in the chat with the Rams.
He holds it down, man. He's
He
a true
definitely
fan.
does. Definitely does.
Credit where
Definitely.
credit.
But no, I
is
mean,
due.
I think I'd have to agree with you, Anthony. Like, if you look around, like Detroit, they're injured. Plus, Jared Goff is the quarterback. Minnesota, Sam
crazy.
Darnold. I don't fear Sam Darnold at all. I mean, the next
You're
best
thinking about
choice.
it.
What's up?
You're thinking about it the wrong way, brother. You're thinking about it the wrong way. I agree. Even though I don't know, man, Sam Darnold been walking around like the streets owe him something or something. He different, but
USC Sam Darnold.
yeah, that he looking special. I mean, he got one more test, and that test is Vic Fangio whenever they can and shall cross paths. But how I think you're looking at it is honestly, I think that well, first and foremost, I'm not concerned about Brett Rogers. I mean Jordan Love. My bad. Whatever he decides to be on any.
Oh no. Me personally, I'm not concerned. I just think they'd give us a run for our money. Out of all the teams, they'd give us the best run for our money. I'm not concerned with them though.
I think personally, the team that'll give us a run for our money is Minnesota. More so because not what they could do, or well, they've been able to do some great things offensively. I'll be interested to see how they match up because they love to throw the ball down the field, especially with those two receivers, Jordan Addison taking the leap that he has this year. But we don't allow teams.
Brian Flores.
So,
you're thinking Brian Flores.
That's the problem. That thing, like I said about Lamar Jackson a couple weeks ago, that team, they don't scare me, but that thing over there, he concerns me. And I've seen him torture a lot of quarterbacks this season. And I mean, Jalen Hurts has been phenomenal against the blitz this year. That Todd Bowles conversation was interesting. Maybe he just has his number or something. We'll find out along the line. But I think Brian Flores is the LeBron James of Todd Bowles, if you ask me.
Just a nasty sentence, but go on.
Oh, no, that's all I had. I mean,
The Todd Bowles disrespect is unreal.
So he can go. I get what you're saying, Quell, but I think with our offense, I trust their ability to be balanced. If they can play like they played today, then I really do think that it doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is. One of the two will pop. Whether it's the passing game, whether it's the running game, something will happen with one of the two. But then I guess when you're talking about the defense, they've played lights out all year. So maybe you are right approaching it that way. But the reason that I think it's the Packers as well is because I think they're similarly built to the Eagles in that they can really run the ball and they can pass the ball on you too, but they can really run the hell out of the ball. And if you can control time of possession against the Eagles and we don't have our best offensive day, like you mentioned, I don't know. I think the Packers give me a little bit of pause. That was a good battle at the beginning of the year on a weird field. God, I can't talk today. Sorry. But I really do think that, the way that they're healthy and the way that they're rolling at this point of the year and the fact that they're only losses and the reason they're so low in the rankings is because they're just losing to teams in their division that are ahead of them.
I'm about to say, I was just about to say, I don't want to say I can't because anything's possible any given Sunday.
Yeah.
But the fact it does.
Yeah, you're right.
I do look at them funny. The fact that those losses are
right.
The three teams in front of you.
Right. They do exist. So that's a valid point. But you said it yourself. Brett Rogers, which one's going to show up? And that's the thing with Jordan Love. You never know which one's going to show up, which of the two wolves he's going to be listening to. And so if he has one of his just dotting everyone up Aaron Rodgers games, maybe it is a little bit tougher. But then again, if he has his Brett Favre game and we have 4 picks and just sacking them all over the place, maybe it's a different story. So I just think it's the fact that they're so high variance that gives me a little bit of pause about them. But I do get what you're saying about the Vikings because potent offense and Brian Flores is the boogeyman for sure. Tua's boogeyman, that's for sure.
I don't know, man. It'll definitely be something where we'll get figured out over the course of the next few weeks. I mean, of course, we talked about this Lions circumstance of what it would take for the Eagles to get a 1 seed. All of these teams will kind of cross paths at a point. You pointed out about who these teams will play. I believe the hardest team left on the Lions schedule should be the Vikings. I think it's Rams, 49ers, Vikings. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Versus in the Vikings point, you got the Seahawks, who will see how Geno Smith is feeling heading into that game. But Seahawks, Packers. So we have Packers, Vikings one more time. So the Packers may have a chance to avenge that loss. And then Lions. So everything could fall into place for the Eagles.
I'm feeling it, man. I think we're gonna get that number 1 seed, right? You guys talked about the Lions. They're injured all over the place, right? They still got to play San Francisco. They still got to play. What did you just say, Quell?
They're the Bears.
The Bears.
Vikings.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna get it. And then Minnesota, like you said, they still didn't you say
Seattle, Green Bay, Detroit.
Yeah. I think it's gonna shake out for us. I think it is. As long as we take care of business, we got Washington this week, the Giants, and then Dallas.
We have a guaranteed loss for one of them.
You think so?
No, I mean one of them's gonna have to lose when they play each other, right? We have that loss, right? So it just depends on it all shaking out the other way too. But yeah, I get what you're saying, man. The vibes are high, and it feels like things could just shape up.
I mean, it's way. Like if you try and okay, I'll ask you guys. Where is you guys' weak point on the Eagles? Like, what do you guys see as like the negatives on this team right now? Because I mean, I look at it. It's themselves, really. Like, that's the only thing, like, them holding themselves back.
Yeah, I would just say consistency, right? You want to just see what they did last week and what they've done in the running game and other games just on a consistent basis and put together. But yesterday was pretty damn put together. So if they can do that on a consistent basis, like you said, it's just getting out of your own way, playing to your strengths. Coaching staff, keep doing what you guys were doing because you were cooking on offense. I genuinely enjoyed watching football. It was nice.
Yeah. I mean, you asked me kind of like what you just alluded to themselves. Like I pointed to a few weeks back. I mean, I'm glad that they were able to right their wrongs a bit this week. Also concerns me how they didn't against a team like Carolina who sucked in the first quarter, but they suck every first quarter. So maybe last week was yesterday was some kind of illusion, and that's a team we just don't know. But the fact that the Eagles, they played 6 games against teams with winning records. They're 5-1. Their only loss being the Bucks. They have a plus 32 point differential in these games. They I don't want to say dominated, but for lack of a better term, if you use the eye test, they've dominated some of these upper echelon opponents that they've played. Now, as I pointed to a few weeks back, I don't think you'll be able to lollygag through a first quarter against a team like, let's say, Detroit. And we joke about the defensive injuries and whatnot, but that's a team who has to score 40 to win. They will score 40 to win because that's the brand of football that they have to play right now. And if you give Ben Johnson 2 possessions to get things rolling, I'm not sure those are 2 possessions you're going to get back on the back end. So, again, just continuing to improve in the first quarter specifically, starting games off strong.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo what you guys are saying. It's just the same thing as far as, especially with the passing game, if it looked like it did against Carolina in the couple weeks before that, that might not cut it against some of these upper echelon teams, like you said, Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. So just getting a little bit of a faster start. It doesn't have to be 20 points in the first half, but just being able to put up points, at least get some field goals and keep pace with these teams. If they do start slow, then they'll be all right. But it's just going to be themselves kind of because they have all the talent in the world. They've shown that they can do everything needed to win. It's just a matter of them not shooting themselves in the foot and kind of letting the team get ahead of them.
You talk about Detroit and Ben Johnson. My worry for Detroit is Dan Campbell going to do something stupid in a playoff game that's going to cause them to lose?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you say that louder?
Is Dan Campbell going to do something stupid in a playoff game and cause them to lose?
I feel like
Nick
I'm looking at
Sirianni-
that meme where it's like Dan Campbell shoots lions. Well, why would Nick Sirianni do this? It's ridiculous, man. I'm glad that the disrespect is getting louder. Because, buddy,
Double
you ain't
standards are
changed.
crazy.
You haven't, like, that's my problem with him. Like, it's one thing where that's your thing. Cool. That can be your thing. Like, that was Nick Sirianni's thing, aggression. That's why I hate when people complain about the aggression, because there was no issue with it when we rode it to a Super Bowl. Now, when you are actively losing your team games, a la NFC championship games, and then you come back and you basically carrying it like, that's what I do. You get nothing but what you deserve, in my opinion.
I mean, as long as he's winning and winning 12 games and making like deep postseason runs, people are still going to find excuses for it. But like you said, Nick Sirianni did the same thing. Literally took his team further than Dan Campbell ever did, and he still gets nothing but disrespected and discredited for doing basically the same thing. So it's just like, even in Philadelphia, it's not just the national media, even in Philadelphia, where people are still, they're 12-2 on a 10-game winning streak, and people are still doubting Sirianni, like, oh, what does he do? Or if anything wrong happens, it's because of Sirianni. So he's caught in a tough situation.
That part is fair, but I think some of the criticism this year was definitely fair because
100%.
His decision-making was erratic, and it wasn't just Nick being aggressive, because I agree with you, Quell. Like, I appreciated that about him. I know there was like at one point where I was just broken and I just was like, please, just take the kick. Like,
points, please. No,
please. I was broken, but like, baseline, I do agree that, like, you know, you should be aggressive, and I did enjoy that. But then, you know, he turtled up too much too, and then Jalen did it. And so maybe it's been a theme this year of guys just kind of stepping back and then finding the right way forward. And, you know, that's what you want from a team is continued growth. You know, and just kind of, you know, going back to Jalen for a second, I was just thinking about this today during the pod. You just knew it was going to be a different game, that it was going to be special with that back shoulder fade to AJ. It was just the velocity on it, the decisiveness. Yeah, it was just like, it didn't matter that he was covered. He just threw it, and I was like, oh, like, all right, like, click, like, we're good today. Like, it's going to be a fun one. And I just, like, I wasn't negative, and right away I just knew it, you know? And so, I mean, we talked about it before. You just got to get him into a rhythm, man. And Tom said it, dude. The GOAT said it, man. He was like, when you're in a rhythm, I feel like there's no one who can stop you. And I mean, those are high words of praise from somebody who doesn't just give out praise either. Like, Tom is pretty spiteful about praise. He'll only give it if it's deserved. So
I don't think, like, when Tom, it's some of the most hilarious things, if you ask me. When you listen to the Manning cast and then you listen to Tom Brady call games, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady absolutely despise seeing bad quarterback play, buddy. Like, it drives them mad.
With you can hear it in Tom's voice, but on the Manning cast, you can see Peyton just like rocking back and forth. Like, oh my god, like he's going into shock watching, especially like the slate that they've had this year on the Monday night games. Like, he is miserable, brother. Like, he is just like, oh my god, take it. I gotta put it on. Is it on this week for like?
I don't know. It should be, but they got 2 games, so who knows?
I know. I want to see him do the Raiders game, because I think that would be so. I think that would be so humorous, and it's so funny that they just canceled at some points this year. They were like, nah, not doing that game. Like, just salute to you, brother. Like, yeah, tell him this game is not good enough for me. You guys have that, man. You're royalty, but. That's funny. Yeah, I keep thinking about Peyton now. He's just like, oh my god.
Even going back to the Eagles-Falcons game, not to bring up a bad memory, but they had that on there, and they were like, their reaction to it as it was unfolding was just like, it's so funny, because some of them are just like going through it, and you just feel like the pain in their faces, and they're like, oh, you run there, like, oh. Like, it was just their reaction is golden.
They're awesome. That was such a great choice, and I also ended up liking Bill a lot more after he showed up on there. Like, that made me gain a lot more respect for him, and just like, you know.
I don't know if he's going to do it now that he done took the North Carolina job, but if you get the chance to go back and watch a couple of the old, I'll let you know, see if I can catch it this week. But go back and watch some of the Inside the NFL.
That whole show is so good.
Yo, they are really good.
I've seen a couple.
Really good.
I should go back and watch more.
It's been good to see Bill show some personality.
Yeah, that's what happened after both of them left. That's what's funny, is maybe they were just toxic with each other and they just weren't letting the personality out. Then they both left and blossomed, and you just got to know both of them. Tom won me over when he threw the trophy, bro. He was plastered. That was so funny. He was just like, huh.
They had to walk my man into.
He was gone.
He never seen Tom Brady smile so hard.
Oh,
Oh man. Sorry.
No, you good. But Anthony, we want to thank you for joining us, man. We I know I hit you up this morning. It was kind of short notice, but we've talked about getting you on before. But appreciate you for taking the time to join us, man. It's been a good conversation.
no problem, man. Anytime. Hopefully, we're talking about more victories when I jump up in the future, and hopefully, it's only up from here. Hopefully.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're gonna release this as a pod tomorrow. So on whichever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, be sure to leave us a like and a review. Thank you to all 128 of you that joined in on the stream tonight. Shout out Cliff for I guess introducing this idea to the timeline. But y'all got anything else y'all want to add?
Go Birds.
As always, I got him today. Stick a fork in him.
Oh, God.
Those are scissors, but
I told you last time I was gonna bring some scissors.
I know, but the way you said I got it today, I was like expecting an actual fork. And he's like, I got it. It was
Don't worry, next week I have a fork.
All right.
It's upgrade week after week.
And then
I'll be looking out for it.
Fork.
Yeah, it's like giant
yeah.
pitchfork by like playoff time.
Exactly.
Gotta have one. My wife's gonna see me order it. She's gonna be like, "What is that?"
Just tell it's for your Halloween costume next year. Or something.
But thank y'all for joining. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Give us a Go Birds, Anthony.
Go Birds.
There it is.